Thoughtful, focused, fast. That's Lando Norris. He's a rare talent, but even he has moments of doubt.
The one thing I think of is, was that my only shot? Was that my only shot of winning a Formula One race in my career? Is that what people are going to speak about in 20 years?
Lando could, maybe should, already be a Formula One race winner. But he has confidence in himself and in his McLaren team that another chance at victory is not too far away. Hello everyone, hope you had a good summer break. Welcome to F1 Beyond the Grid. I'm Tom Clarkson, and I think you're going to love this conversation with Lando Norris. He's so thoughtful, so honest, and so funny too. Lando's speed is unquestionable, proved by pole position at a soaking wet Sochi and by podiums. He's sprayed the champagne 6 times so far, and he's done all of it in arguably a midfield McLaren. He talks about wins that got away, how he felt, what he learnt, and what he'd do differently the next time he's fighting at the front, and why he's happy to commit to McLaren, sure in the knowledge that he will get another chance to win. There's so much more, so let's get into it. I hope you enjoy our conversation. Lando, it's great to have you back on the show. Thank you very much for your time. You in good shape?
Yeah, in every way of life, including body, so I'm happy.
Well, look, we're going to Belgium next.
Yeah.
How excited are you by Spa?
Very excited. One of the coolest tracks on the calendar. A bit of a home track for me because my mum's from Belgium, so I kind of have to count it as much of a home track for me as I do a Silverstone to make my mum happy. Every year we go there. A lot of my mum's family are out there, cousins and so on. So we'd always go there every year for Christmas or Easter and whatever. I used to spend a lot of time there. So I grew up there in some ways. But then secondly, Spa is just an awesome track that I guess I drove since I was, 14, Formula 4 already. And it never gets old. It never gets any... it always gets better every time you go in a way. So I look forward to going back again this year and making amends for what happened last year.
Well, it was a big crash in quali last year, wasn't it? Are you going to be flat through Eau Rouge on lap 1?
Yeah. I mean, it's a bigger grandstand there now, so more people to impress. So lap 1, flat out. If it's dry, if it's wet, I might have to build up to it a little bit. But if it's dry, normally that's always the challenge: is who can do a Rouge flat first. Out the box is difficult. Your first pushing lap is fine, but out the box, that's when you're like...
I'm going to set you a challenge because Michael Schumacher was famous for being flat through Eau Rouge on his out lap.
Okay. Depending on weather, but we'll see. I'll give it a go.
No, what about the car? Do you expect it to be competitive in Spa?
I expect so. I think we've definitely taken some steps forward the last few weekends in Paul Ricard. With the upgrades, I think managing to exploit them and use them a little bit more to their potential in Budapest. But it's still a very, very different track. Budapest is every bit of downforce you can put on the car, whereas Spa is you have to be very efficient. You want to kind of have, let's say, low downforce for the straights, but you want a car which produces a lot of downforce at that level for the middle sector. And we have to kind of wait and see how that works. But we've been okay in other places where you've been on that level, similar to Saudi, for example. So I still look forward to it. And it should be a good track.
You say you don't know what to expect from the performance, but do you still enter every weekend aiming for the podium?
No, not at all. Podium?
Yeah.
No, I wish.
Gosh,
no.
Imola seems like a long time ago.
Imola, I think I said to someone else the other day, I still don't understand how I was on the podium in Imola. Because our car is like 1 and a bit seconds off. And for me to achieve a podium in Imola was... like, I don't understand how. You had like so many cars which people don't realise are so much quicker than us at that point of the season. If you look at the race trace from the Alfa Romeo of Bottas, he's like half a second a lap quicker the whole race. The whole race. I guess starting in third always helps. That's where I qualified.
It seems like a better qualifying car than race car. Is that
true?
Fair?
That's true. In a way. I don't think you can use that completely because like Budapest, for example, or maybe not so much Paul Ricard, but I guess 4/10 off pole, I end up 62 seconds off the car in front of me in the race. But then the Alpine, like what people don't see as much is like the GPS to see where we're quicker than other people and so on. The Alpine is quicker through the whole racetrack than me, bar the last corner. Somehow I just had a magical last corner. I was like one of the quickest guys on the whole grid, quicker than like some of the Red Bulls and Ferraris, Mercedes. And that saved me. That put me ahead of both the Alpines. If I didn't have such a good last corner, I would have been behind both of them.
That's fascinating. What were you doing through that 180
I have no idea.
degree? If you do know, you absolutely
I
do.
mean, it's nothing, no secret. It's just everyone can see what I'm doing. They can watch onboards, they see my data, but it's all to do with the wind. The wind was quite strong in qualifying. You had a tailwind in and a big headwind out. So it's all trying to do everything you can to get into the headwind as quickly as possible in a way. So maximizing the entry and turning as early as possible. And then as soon as you get into the headwind, you can just go full chat. You can go flat out. And that's all I was trying to achieve. And I guess I achieved it in the end, and it saved my whole weekend. Yeah, little things like that, which people don't see or realize, that the Alpines would have both been ahead of me by the last corner. That sets up my whole weekend, ahead of them in the race, score some good points, go equal in points for the constructors on that weekend. And
I think as soon as they put the hard tyres on,
yes,
your pit wall was going, we'll have that.
Well, yeah, hard tyres were on our plan initially, so I think we just did a very good job in adapting to realizing the conditions made it not a hard stint race. If it was a hot like Friday, I think the hards would have worked well or better. I pushed a lot for a soft start. I didn't think I would deg off as quickly as I did, because even like 7 laps in or so, I had Hamilton behind. I see that front left just going lap after lap, just dying away. And I was like, this is really not going to plan. Maybe I should have listened to what my strategist said. But I really pushed for the soft start, because I thought personally that would be the best thing for us. And it turned out to be, let's say, true in some ways. I think if we did a hard start, maybe we would have still finished ahead of Alpine, but just nowhere near as comfortably. We would have been maybe 2 seconds ahead. And therefore, I would have much preferred my race that I had now and doing soft medium. I still did soft medium hard, but soft hard or medium hard would have been a much more difficult race.
It's fascinating to get your analysis of the race afterwards. But last time you were on the show, back in March 2020, you hadn't even stood on a podium.
Oh, that was pre-COVID.
You've now done it 6 times.
Yeah.
Which has been the most satisfying?
The first one in your career, first one in Formula One. I think we did it in a cool way as well, on the final lap of the race, with my engineer coming on the radio and so on, and like not actually knowing if I was on the podium or not. And just being the first one, I think that's always very special. That's one I'll remember for forever.
Here in Austria, Lando Norris gets on the podium for the first time in Formula One because of Lewis Hamilton's penalty. He put in the fastest lap of the race on the last lap of the race, and by a 1/10 of a second, Lando Norris is a podium sitter. McLaren are on the podium.
When you got the message over the radio, you've got 1.5 laps to make up 1.5 seconds on Lewis Hamilton. What was the first thing that went through your mind?
Yeah, no chance. I was like, why are they even telling me this? What do they expect I'm going to do? But back then it was when you had engine modes to kind of use up and stuff. But the more you use them, the less you have in the future, let's say. So you have to choose wisely when to use it. And this was when we turned it up a little bit. The car was performing very well that weekend. That was obvious. And I just gave it my best shot. I really didn't think it was possible. I know everyone says, he's always got to believe in it and whatever, but I tend not to believe in too many things until they happen.
Well, how helpful was your engineer, Will Joseph? Because it seemed to me like he guided you round that final lap.
In a way, I feel like I still did my own job and I still drove the car.
I'm taking nothing away from you,
but 100%.
Hamilton is 6.5 ahead. He also has a 5-second penalty.
Little things, big things. A bit of engine mode is, say, 1/10, 1.5 tenths through the last lap and a bit.
Stay in scenario 7 until turn 3. Track obstruction, turn 1.
Optimizing the car and the balance, you would say, is another 1/10.5 or so, or 2/10. Using the battery, it's pretty much empty by the end of the lap. Again, could be easily 2-3 tenths.
Single press and overtake here and out of turn 3. Out of turn 8, press and hold overtake for 5 seconds.
When you just put all of that together, that's what I needed. That's the tenths of a second that I needed to achieve what I did. So crucial.
Give it everything. Out of the last corner as well, overtake.
I'm not saying I wouldn't have been able to do what I did without him. Some things I still would have been able to do, but just optimizing the places to do it and stuff is always a help for him telling me.
Lando, the gap to Hamilton was 4.8. I think that's a podium, mate. I think that's a podium.
Yeah, boy! And all of that rewarded you with a bear hug from Zach Brown.
Oh, a big bear hug, I remember
Is
that.
it true that he cracked a rib? That he hugged you so hard?
I would put a lot of money down saying he did, because I was really struggling for the next few weekends with my ribs and just my breathing and everything. So I was really struggling. You know what? Just when something happens and you just think for like a little second, like, oh, something doesn't, like that didn't feel quite right. Like I've had it with my neck sometimes and whatever. And you just think, oh, something happened. And the next day you realize like, oh, actually something really did happen. So I was that. But it was, I wouldn't say worth it, but it was a reward, I guess.
It was a memorable day. And that race came after the enforced break due to the COVID pandemic. Can we just reflect on that quickly? How did the time away from racing change you?
I think one way it changed me is I did so much sim racing. I did so much that I took a step away from it I would say I was still taking a step away from it. I've really not been on my simulator at home much at all since COVID because I did so much. But as a person, I guess I still just grew up a little bit and shaved all my hair off. I just did a few different things, but I don't know how much it changed me as a person and my personality and whatever.
You said at the time it was your longest time out of a race car
Ever.
for as long as you can remember.
Yeah, or go-kart for the same instance. So I think since I started 2007, I've never been out of, racing for that long. Yeah, months and months longer than I've ever been before. Normally it's, a couple of weeks or so.
Did it
maximum.
make you realise how much you love it?
Oh, yes, for sure. I just struggle to find things to do that I enjoy or that I'm good at. Obviously, I got into golf a lot during COVID, and that's where my love for golf started a lot more. But definitely, even after a couple of weeks, you enjoy a couple of weeks away and you think, oh, this would be a nice break. But then after that, you're like, I've got nothing else to do now. I just want to get back in the car. So, yeah, definitely.
Lando, why do you love golf quite so much?
I have no idea.
Are you an obsessive character?
I would say so. My mind is very obsessive with when I want to do something well, I really want to make sure I do it well. And I hate losing. I think that's obvious from within racing. If you want to be a competitor and you want to win races, then you've got to hate losing. So I have that. I guess a lot of my friends do it as well. So I hate losing to them. That motivates me. I play against Zach. Sadly, I lose against him sometimes, so that motivates me.
Only sometimes, though. So
sometimes it's we're split. I would say I'm on the upper end now, but when he has a good day and me had a bad day, like yesterday, then yeah, he can have the better of me and he can beat me.
Can we say where you were yesterday?
Trump Turnberry, up in Scotland. My first links course. I don't know the true definition of a links course, but it's seaside, windy, quite bumpy. It's not very flat fairways, so the ball can just bounce and kind of go in all different directions. The rough, so beside the fairways, is generally very long. So you have to. The tendency is you need to be a bit more accurate. Maybe not go for quite as much distance because the ball will bounce and roll further than normal. But it was my first experience of that, and the wind was like 35 miles an hour at times. So when my ball would go in a certain direction by accident, it would go a very, very long way in that direction. So it was tough, but it was a cool experience for me.
Is one of the reasons you love golf because it's only your performance that matters, whereas in Formula One, there are so many other factors at play?
That can be a very big part of it. The fact that I cannot use any excuse. It's simple. You can't use golf. I mean, you can blame your club sometimes. Sadly, I'm 2 clubs down at the minute because of anger.
Hang on, what? You've broken the clubs?
Yes. I'm not very proud of it. That's how angry I get. I guess it's common for golfers at times, but it is true. And I think that's what makes it even worse and better at the same time. That when you do well, it's all down to you doing a better job. When you do worse, it's the same reason though. It's down to you just doing a worse job. You're not being as accurate, your timing's being out, whatever. So you have no excuses, which is the problem. therefore it's all on you, and therefore you feel more satisfied when you do a good job and you feel more disappointed when you do a bad job. But that's definitely a big part of why I like it, because you always think that you can do better, which is a problem. I always give myself that hope every now and then that I can do better and come back and have a better day. And it's very rarely true that happens.
So you play with Zach. Do you play with Daniel?
No, sadly not. He's my first Formula One teammate that's not into golf in any way. We did some putting in the brand centre.
I mean, to be fair, he's only your second Formula One teammate.
I know, that's why I said it. But, no, he's not into golf.
Are you into UFC? That's his thing, isn't it?
Maybe not as much as him. You know, he reenacts it at times just on his own. He just gets into these weird positions. No, I mean, I watch it. I watch UFC sometimes when there's some good ones on. But I guess we just have different interests. You know, we're different ages. We grew up in different periods of time. And we have different interests altogether. He drinks a lot of wine and stuff like that. And
he has his own wine.
That's the last. I know, exactly. And that's the last thing I could ever want to do in my life is drink wine for enjoyment, because I hate it so much. So we're very different.
Stay on top of scorching summer temperatures with Liquid IV. Trust me, if you've been struggling in the heat like I have, Liquid IV is about to become your new best friend. Keeping on top of our hydration can help us feel healthier in our everyday lives, and what's great about Liquid IV is that it has 3 times the electrolytes of traditional sports drinks and comes in convenient individual sachets so you can take them on the move as well. And it hydrates you 2 times faster than water alone. So simply mix your sachet with water and you'll be getting a refreshing hit of 5 essential vitamins: B3, B5, B6, B12 and vitamin C. It even works as a mid-afternoon pick-me-up, or you can get back on track after a long night. And what makes it so effective is because it uses cellular transport technology, which is designed to help enhance rapid absorption of water and other key ingredients into the bloodstream. I love how there's such a huge variety of flavours available, so it doesn't get boring. There's lemon lime, pina colada, tropical punch, passion fruit, you name it. Watermelon has been my number one choice so far because it's incredibly refreshing. But don't just take my word for it. Try it for yourself. Grab your Liquid IV in bulk nationwide at Costco, or you can get 15% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use the code GRID at checkout. That's 15% off anything you order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code GRID at liquidiv.com. How is the relationship with Daniel different to how it was with Carlos Sainz?
I think one thing is we're at different periods of our careers. You know, he's probably more like 3/4 of the way through it, or midway, 3/4 of the way through it, just because of age difference. So he's experienced a lot more than what Carlos did, and I guess Carlos was seen as a bit more of in some ways, a direct competitor, because we were both relatively new to Formula One. Still, he was in his 4th year or something, which is where I am now. Still seen as just like 2 young guys going against each other. Whereas myself and Daniel is a little bit more seen as, you know, him being the experienced one and me the newbie. So it's different in that way. And like I said, we're also then, between Carlos and myself, we both have a lot more interests in common, whether that was golf or sim racing. A lot of what we wanted to do away from Formula One, or even in Formula One, was similar. So we're competitive in basically everything we did in our lives. And he lived here, you know, same as now me living in Monaco, and he's in there as well. But we lived here, we'd go for dinner sometimes, not like romantic ones, but yeah. So we kind of just grew up a little bit more together in a way. He taught me many things, because I was at that point of my career. I guess we were just a little bit more like just general friends, because similar ages, similar interests. Whereas I see Daniel a little bit more of just the guy with more experience, and I can learn different things off of him. Still good friends, but just not so close away from the racetrack, just because we live quite different lives.
So CarLando was a thing, but DaLando is not a thing.
I mean, we still have our laughs, and we still have a lot of good moments together and times and giggles, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. People remember CarLando more than DaLando, I think.
How quick is Daniel?
I mean, I think he's proven it in his career, how quick he is, what he achieved when joining Red Bull. You know, the wins he did. He never won a boring race, I don't think. He always won an exciting one, did it in style. He proved many times, you know, in Monaco, when he had to deliver in qualifying and stuff like that, he could do exactly that. So I don't need to say it. I think everyone knows how good he is and what he can achieve.
And when you look at the data, do you drive in very different ways?
We do drive in different ways, and therefore what we request from the car is quite different. You know, there's been things saying where he doesn't suit the car and all of that stuff, and everyone thinks that I do suit the car and the car's made around me and all of that stuff, but it couldn't be more untrue. Not that I hate driving the car I'm driving now, but it's very unsuited to my driving style. And I'll say in the beginning of the year, it suited Daniel a lot more than it suited me in terms of how you had to drive it. And that's something I really struggled with in the beginning of the season, and I'm coping with, or I've adapted to a lot more now, and let's say more well suited to it. But it's far from a car that I would want in an ideal world, and say, if I wanted to go out and do the best lap possible and give me that car to do so, it's definitely not the car that I have now. So there are big differences, I would say, at times. Sometimes more similar, but what we want from the car and how we drive it is quite different.
Has the team adapted the car to you, or have you had to adapt to the car?
I've had to adapt a lot more to the car. There's not a lot the team can do for me in terms of car. They just make it as quick as possible, like all round. You know, it's not like Lando said this and we're just going to do that, and Daniel, like, we're not going to do that. Like, that's just stupid to ever think of. So I request things and I say, you know, this is the direction I want to go in. But it's not like they just go and focus simply on that in the wind tunnel. They just go, can we add more rear here? Can we add more front? And they just trying to achieve that. So no, by no means is it anywhere near more adapted to me than to him. I feel like I'm driving a pretty, say, similar car in terms of characteristics as a car I drove in my first year of Formula One. It's changed in little ways, but nothing I would say now is more adapted to me than it was in my first year of racing.
You say you're in year 4 of your Formula One career. Is this where you expected to be at this stage of your career?
In a way, I did not expect it. Let's say it's not a surprise that I am like, or we are as a team where we are. As a driver, I think I'm in a better position than I thought. You know, having I don't even know what it is, a 4-year contract to the end of 25. I feel like that's been better than what I was expecting coming into Formula One. A team wanting me so much and me performing well enough for them to want me. So that's definitely better, and always like definitely a good thing, a very good thing to have, to know, to feel, which I'm very happy with. In terms of performance and where we are with a car, it's always hard to know or to have too high expectations. You know, especially myself, I tend not to have too high. And there's always a possibility of having a great car or all of a sudden a bad car, you know, like we saw with Mercedes at the beginning of this year. I mean, they say that they struggled. It's still like they still finished on the podium quite regularly, and it wasn't like they had a bad car. But I did expect to be a little bit closer than what we are now. It's been the same scenario since I started, that we're in this mid-pack, generally a little bit towards the front of it. And the goal is to get to Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull. And that's been the story for the last 4 years now. So
you are a generational talent. You've proven that with your speed. I'm fascinated that you don't set your expectations that high.
Yeah, I mean, I just go for the simple one. I set them low and overachieve, and that makes me happy.
Under-promise, overachieve.
Yeah, exactly. So
I feel like I'm talking to Jackie Stewart. That's very much a Jackie.
What he did as well?
Yeah.
I love Jackie. In a way. And I see a lot more enjoyment coming from it from that perspective as well. There are certainly a lot of things which I set myself a very high target of. And also that's why I'm sure there's been interviews where I've not been happy with you, and not with you personally, but I've just not been happy with, because I've made mistakes in qualifying and the race. And even if it's a good qualifying, I have to be happy with it because it's been a good qualifying, but I know I could have gone 2 tenths quicker or 3 tenths quicker if I just did a better lap. That puts a bigger smile on my face if I know that I've done everything I can, rather than just being in a very good position, you know. So maybe it'll be different if you're on pole position, but if you're on pole position, just do a good lap, you're happy, you're on pole position. But if you're on pole position and you know you've nailed the lap, in terms of happiness and accomplishment, then that's just a way higher one than just doing an average lap. So
how good was your pole lap in Russia last year? Is that the best quali lap you've ever driven?
I would say so.
Okay, pole position, mate. Pole position.
Oh, baby! Oh my God! Let's go! Oh! The most nerve-wracking, the most risky in a way, because it was we just decided to go onto slicks for the first time, and you have one shot, you have one chance to achieve it. And every single corner, like literally every corner, you brake later than you ever think you wanna, just because you think someone else is gonna try and brake late. I've got to try and outdo them. And you think that for everything, you think someone else is going to try and do a better job than I can here. So you push every limit, you push the entry, you push the braking. The line, the line was so narrow. You put one wheel too tight, you lock the inside, you go off. One wheel too wide, the outside wheel with all the load gets wet, you're off in the wall, probably pretty hard. Every single corner, I felt like I risked everything, but it paid off. I would say in my career, in terms of like a proper accomplishment, nailing a lap and everything that I've learned coming into it, that's the one I would say I'm definitely most proud of.
And how different did it feel waking up on race morning, knowing that you were on pole? And how did you feel? Did you think that was the one?
For sure. It's still like hard to think, just because it wasn't like we had the best car or anything like that. We had a car which is a second lap off Mercedes and stuff like that. But it really puts a big smile did put a big smile on my face. The fact I knew, because I just think of it in the simple terms. I got pole in Formula One, and that's something I still think back to of a kid, like watching Fernando against Lewis in 07, 08, just watching Formula One growing up and thinking how cool it is to achieve these things. And now I managed to do it, and especially because I did it that way, not because I had the best car and whatever. But when you do it in the way I did it, I feel like it was a bigger accomplishment. And thinking of it in a more simple term, that I just got pole position in Formula One, and today I'm at the front of the grid. The eyes are on me. Makes you a little bit more nervous for sure, but there's not many feelings which beat it, I would say.
Oh, Lando, that was a race you should have won. I don't want to dwell on the near misses, but do you dwell on it still?
I do at times. Obviously, we won the race previously in Monza, 1-2 with Daniel.
Well, again, talking of near misses, a brilliant second place for you.
Yeah.
But is there a little bit of you that thinks, I could have won that one as well?
There is, sadly. I think what I have to be careful with on this one is I don't think I can say that I would have won it, because we would have had to fight for it. None of us would have made it easy for each other. But I could have given it a shot. It was a shot that I missed out on. And I guess it's a little bit frustrating because of that. A shot that I could have had a chance of winning a race, and I didn't even take that shot. So a little bit frustrated with it, but I think I made amends for it on the following week in Russia.
Those closing laps.
Yeah.
When the rain came.
Everyone threw everything at me in this race, and it just wasn't meant to be.
The rain has come down, and Hamilton takes the lead of the race as Lando Norris slides off the track and avoids the barriers, manages to keep going, but Hamilton takes the lead.
But I still feel like I did a very good job, and people blame me a lot for it. I don't want to say I'm blaming the team.
Who blames you? I don't think anyone blames you.
There's a lot of people that do. Not in terms of team, but in terms of public and so on. Yeah, they say listen to the team, but the team didn't tell me to do anything. So there's nothing to listen about. It's just, what do you think of the tyres? I was like, well, I think of this, but that was it. So,
if we had that scenario again,
yeah,
would you do things differently? I'm not talking about the end result, but just in terms of your
Yes.
conversations with the team over the radio.
Yeah, the only one is just the way I say things over the radio, which are so different to how I feel I say them when I'm in the car.
I need blue flags, what are they doing?
Okay, Lando, Hamilton has taken it. He's gone to an inter.
Yes, I seen. We just got to commit to staying. This is full wet voice. I got a box, I'm going to shut.
Yep, we're going to come in.
I can't do this.
We're going to come in, we're going to box. Okay, Lando, we're boxing this lap. Pit lane very slippy.
Yes, box.
Yeah, I need silver D9.
Yes, confirm.
I need silver D9 before you come to a stop. We finished P7.
I know I was stressed leading the race. Lewis has just caught me up. He's a lot quicker. It's raining. This is everything that can go wrong, kind of going wrong. At the same time, I felt, very much just in my zone of this is what I felt like. I grew up driving on slicks in the rain. I love doing that in go-karting. And probably the same for Lewis, he had those stories. So I felt like that was me, and I felt very comfortable at the same time, as uncomfortable as I was with slicks in the rain with Lewis behind me for a win. I felt very comfortable with the situation I was in. But the way I come across on the radio is so different to how I feel I say it at the time. I feel like I'm just saying it. But then I hear myself on the radio. I'm like, why am I screaming? Like, why am I sounding like a little baby? Yeah, so I just need to be careful. Even now with other things, I need to be careful of the way I think I'm saying it differently to how they might portray it then. But not too many things. I'm not saying like if I did the same again and I said something in a different way, it would have changed the outcome. I don't think that was the issue, let's say. But definitely there's every now and then times where things that I say or how I say them will get portrayed in a different way and then kick off decisions that the team will make to box me, to not to box me, and so on. And I guess I just think of that more now because of that situation than what I did then.
Now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. Think of your brain as like a car. If you want to keep your vehicle running smoothly and firing on all cylinders, you need to take good care of it. Keep a close eye on any changes and make sure it's not running on empty. Well, we only get one brain, and yet we often don't treat them with the care and attention they deserve. There are plenty of ways to support a healthy brain, like learning a new language, power naps where possible, and my go-to, exercising. There's also BetterHelp online therapy. Taking the time to nurture a healthy, happy mindset is one of the best things you can do to take good care of yourself. And it's remarkable what a difference our mental health can have on our lives and how we view the world. That's why I believe talking through your problems is so important and why therapy is so effective. With BetterHelp online therapy, you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours, and it's much more affordable than in-person sessions. Not only does it offer video and phone therapy, it also offers live chat-only sessions, so you don't have to see or speak to anyone on camera if you don't want to. The most important thing is that you feel comfortable and that you have a safe space to talk about whatever might be troubling you. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/grid. That's betterhelp.com/grid.
This man, Lando Norris, you really do have to feel for him because this could have been win number one. Without the rain, it would have been win number one. And after the disappointment of Monza, where he finished second to his teammate, it was his career best finish, but it was still disappointing. This is going to be utter heartbreak for Lando Norris and for McLaren.
So we've established that you coulda, shoulda, woulda won a few races by now. The fact that that hasn't happened, does it play on your mind? Do you worry that you won't get the success you deserve in Formula One?
There's the one thing I think of was that my only shot? And I hate thinking it because I also want to believe, like as a team, we're going to be winning races in a few years. But you never know in Formula One, which is the issue. You never know where you can be or what can happen. So there's a couple of times when I just thought, was that my only shot of winning a Formula One race in my career? Is that what people are going to speak about in 20 years? Oh, you should have won that race in Russia, blah, blah, blah. That's the only thing, but I think that very rarely, probably 2 or 3 times I've thought of that. But the rest of it I still see as a team, 2 or 3 years, that's when our times will come.
The guys and girls at the MTC will certainly be hoping that there's lots of success around the corner. You've committed to the team till the end of 2025. Can you feel McLaren gravitating around you?
I think the feeling is that they just know I have faith in them. And I think that's such a good thing to have. The fact I would sign a contract like that, the fact I also, I know in the short term I wasn't going to win races, I know that last year I wasn't going to win, this year I'm not going to win, next year there's still a reasonable chance that we won't win, and I signed up knowing all of that. So it's not like I signed up for any other reason bar knowing that long term I have the faith that we can achieve things together, and I think that will make things sweeter than just joining a team which has a chance of winning races, I think the story of me being with the team since the revolution of everything, in terms of McLaren changing a lot of things within the team, and being in that point and getting to eventually winning races. I think that makes a much cooler story than just joining a team that has a car that can win races. And I think therefore it'll mean more than that scenario.
In your mind, Lando, is it 2024? Is that what you're looking at?
24, I would say, is probably one of the first times, let's say, we shouldn't have any excuses in a way. Not that we have a whole book of them at the minute, but there are genuine reasons, not excuses, but reasons why other teams are doing better than us at this minute, which is just a fact. It's just how Formula One works. And we know those reasons, which is a good thing, obviously. And we know that in a few years, we shouldn't have those reasons anymore. So I guess that's what we look forward to. But we also know that there are things now we're not doing well enough, which when that time might come, we need to make sure we're doing a better job of and maximising if we want to be on the same level as the top teams.
Does McLaren have everything it needs to win races and world championships? It's just a case of pulling it all together now.
In a way, I think there's still some various things which are being worked on at the minute, and gives me even more, say, hope for the future. So yeah, I wouldn't say we have everything we need at the minute. We have the new wind tunnel coming and new simulator. So there are definitely a few various things which will just help us take a step. It's not going to not help us in any way. It's only going to help us, which is always a good thing. And a few other things which we need just to compete at the same level as the top teams. And but that's something I've a lot of faith in the team with. And we have a strong team, I think, at the minute in terms of culture, in terms of atmosphere within. I think we're definitely in the best place we've ever been.
Quick word on Lando the man. How are you dealing with the stresses and strains of being a Formula One driver? Do you feel on top of everything?
Yes. Better than ever with all of that stuff. Even with the social media, all of that. I'm definitely in the best place. I feel like I'm in the best place with my... I think we spoke about with life outside of Formula One. And just getting the balance right of doing Formula One. And, I've never called Formula One a job because I don't think it's a job. It's something that I love. And it's just a bonus. I get paid to do it. But even if I didn't get paid, I would still just love to do what I do, because it's the coolest thing in the world. So, yeah, I have that. But just life outside of Formula One and, running my esports team, looking after that and just enjoying my friends' time, family time. I found a much better balance of all of that. And I think that's very important. And it takes a few years to really understand how much you can do of either of these. But making sure that I have days off, that I can go and enjoy other things rather than...
We all know what that is.
Yeah, being on the golf course. But just at least having some time to do that, because that brings me more performance on a racetrack than if I didn't do that. When everyone gets these weird ideas that, you should only think of Formula One 24/7 and why you're not in the factory every single day and all of that stuff. It's because they're not me. They don't know how... And if they were in a situation of being in my boots, and they'll probably be saying the same things. So it's just finding the perfect balance of being able to relax and knowing exactly what, as a driver, brings me the most performance on track. And that isn't about thinking of Formula One every single minute or every single day, but it's about being able to take some time off, clear your head, come back. And because I have a very short attention span with things, if I think about it too much, I'll just lose it. I'm not as concentrated as I should be. So doing a little bit less, but then more efficient work, more efficient preparation, that's what makes the difference for me. So I think that's where I've improved over the last couple of years, is working in my off-track stuff to improve my on-track stuff.
Do you still have your notebooks?
I still have my notebooks.
What do we call them? The technical notebooks. Wait, for each track.
I do, yes. So every track that I've been to now, I've got notes on, and it's all I guess a lot of it's just written in my own words. It's just only stuff that I will be able to relate to in a way, whether it's breaking points or bumps or curbs or feelings. I would just I'll write something simple as turn in when you feel this, and as someone who doesn't drive a car, you look at it and think, what the hell does that mean? But it's just every feeling that I have, that when I turn, I feel like I'm doing this with my feet and my body feels that and whatever. And trying to recreate those, or know when I get on track and I can recreate it. That's where I was at that point last year.
What happens if you lose one of these notebooks?
I don't think it'll be the end of the world. It would just. I mean, I tend to lose things quite often, so there's always the possibility of it, which is the problem. But yeah, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It would just be that I just wouldn't start weekends off quite as well as what I do now.
If you've ever travelled to another country where they don't speak your native language, you'll know what a barrier it can be. English may be the world's most widely spoken language, but it can make a huge difference to how you experience new cultures and communities if you're able to speak some of their local lingo. And with Babbel, you can learn a new language with just 10 to 15-minute daily lessons. There are 14 languages to choose from, including French, Spanish, Italian, and German, and learning on your own schedule has never been simpler. It's available as an app or online, so you can log on and take a lesson whenever and wherever you want to, and your progress will be synced across all devices. Their interactive lessons are created by more than 150 language experts and voiced by native speakers using a modern conversation-based method which focuses on useful vocabulary and real-world conversations. So say goodbye to stilted phrases because you'll be speaking confidently in another language in no time. Babbel makes learning fun, and in addition to lessons, you can also access podcasts, games, videos, or even join live classes with a language teacher. Right now, Babbel is offering our listeners 6 months free with a purchase of a 6-month subscription with the promo code GRID. Go to babbel.com/play and use the promo code GRID for an extra 6 months free. That's babbel.com/play, promo code GRID. Babbel, language learning that works. Well, Lando, quick word on merch. You're selling a lot of it now. What is Quadrant?
We had our merch drop yesterday, actually. It's our off-road collection.
It's very nice.
Kind of looks like the Subaru logo.
And the McLaren Swish, actually.
Exactly. It's a bit of a mixture of both.
Zach would prefer that.
Yes, he would. But when I grew up, I loved Subaru. And like I was really into rallying. And Richard Burns, I remember having a little rally car, Richard Burns. I could change the wheels on it and do pit stops and whatever. But Richard Burns was a guy I supported massively. And not actually many people. I don't think I've ever said this before. But the blue Subaru with the yellow and the fluorescent yellow, man, this was like the coolest thing ever when I was growing up. So I was a massive fan of him driving this car. This must have been when I was like 4 or 5 years old, in fact. So this before I got into Formula One in any way. And that's my love. So I just wanted to bring that back into it a little bit, just because it was something I've always loved and dreamed of. But yeah, Quadrant's going very well at the minute. We did our merch drop yesterday. We sold out in 32 minutes.
That's mad.
Which was a lot quicker than expected. But I guess it's a good thing at the same time.
Can you put some numbers on that? How much have you sold?
No, I can't.
Oh, okay.
I can't put numbers on it. Mainly because I don't know.
But
not because I don't want to share it.
But someone is busy manufacturing more right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, no. Once it's sold out, it's sold out. That's life that's life for the apparel stuff. So yeah, just a good thing. Of course, we'll probably up the numbers a bit for next time. But it's going very well, and it's just a little bit of me away from Formula One. It's just me. It's just Lando. It's got nothing to do with racing. A bit more of me and obviously the gaming side of things. And sometimes that has nothing to do with racing. So, yeah, it's cool. It's just where I get to express myself in a different way and just show what I love and enjoy. So the off-road collection was a little bit inspired by me loving rallying when I was growing up. The Subaru with Richard Burns and that side of it. So like we went up to Cumbria. Sadly, I wasn't allowed to go out in the rally car that we did, but we were with M Sport. And we had the Rally 2 car there. It was in the Quadrant, all vinyled up. And it was awesome. And my girlfriend also went out in it. So I don't think she really knew what was going on. Like the fear. Like she didn't have the fear that she should have had.
She will now.
No, I don't know, because obviously if I went out, I know like, if he just does this a bit wrong, I'm in that tree right there, I don't think she knew that. Like what could go wrong in a way. So yeah, but it's going very well. I have my Halo team, which is like the first proper esports team I have, or roster that I have within Quadrant. And they're doing extremely well. They came out to France. I invited them out to France with us. So they were in the paddock. They were in the brand center. They came into the garage a few times. So it was cool to finally meet all of them, because I didn't meet them until since COVID or something. But they've been doing very well. I think they're number 2 EU team at the minute, and they've been very competitive, fighting the top guys. But they also got a lot of grand finals coming up in Seattle, I think it is, not too far away. So it's good. Yeah, life's good, like I said, and that includes everything outside of Formula 1.
And for everyone who's bought some of your merch, you are a hugely popular driver. I think the second most popular according to the fan survey.
Yes.
So you need to sort that out.
Yeah.
What does Lando Norris stand for? What are these, I think, largely kids probably buying into when they purchase one of your, let's say, T-shirts or one of the tops that you're wearing now?
I want to believe that the reason they support me and I want to wear my things and so on, and what they probably like, is that they can identify with me very well, and they see a lot of normality in me that they can see with themselves, So whether it's me going home and just playing games on whatever game it is, FIFA, Call of Duty, Halo, racing games, is something that they probably love doing at the same time. And that's immediately they just think, oh, he's doing that, I'm doing that. That's awesome. Something so simple, but very not effective, because I'm not trying to use it in a way, but something that just is a reason why a lot of people support me and love me. Probably hate me for the same way. And just that, when I'm in Formula 1, I just want to have a good time. I want to win more than anything. I want to win, and I put every bit of effort into winning. But I want to enjoy every minute that I'm there at the same time. And I do get frustrated and so on, and I'm definitely not always happy. But I just want to enjoy it. So that's why you see, me laughing a lot and joking around a lot. And just because that's what I want to be surrounded by. I want to be surrounded by enjoyment and fun. Because before you know it, you're probably at the end of your career and you think, oh, that's racing done, and life's short. So I just want to enjoy every minute I can. And it's just, I'm relatable with them. So I feel like that's a big bonus. But I want to be known as, I'm still in the early stages of my career, and like with Seb leaving, there's boots to fill in and so on in various ways. And that's something I think I would want to slowly fill a couple years down the line, or a few years down the line, not like right now, because they're big boots to fill. But also just a guy who does work very hard, and a guy who means well in every situation. Whether it's something that I've said in social media or I say in an interview and people portray in a way which is completely wrong. Like, people don't know how much respect I have for Lewis or for Seb or whoever. And I might say something which people then think, oh, why are you saying this about them and whatever. But I feel like I'm too honest sometimes with some of the things I say. But it's just, a lot of it is also facts, and people just don't want to believe it. And therefore, a lot of people hate it at the same time. So I just want people to know that whatever things I say, I always mean well. Like, I'm not the kind of guy, just because that's me, but I'm not the kind of guy who says things to annoy people, or that's just not who I am. So I just want to enjoy what I do, and that's pretty much it. So I mean well in everything I say or do, because I see a lot of things where people don't think that. And that's probably one of the few things which still annoys me that I see about myself, is the fact that people would say that not that I'm mean, but that I don't have respect for the people I should have respect for and stuff like that. And that could not be further from the truth. So it's a shame, let's say. I feel ashamed that people see me thinking that I'm saying stuff like that in that way. And that's just something I don't want to happen, but I feel like will always happen in this world that we're living in now, with people being offended by every word in the dictionary somehow offends people. That's just the way of life nowadays, sadly. But yeah, as long as people know that if I've said something, I just mean it as a fact, but also that I would never want to hurt someone or disregard them or disrespect them in any way. So as long as that happens, then everything's freebie and everything's fine.
Very well said, and thank you very much for coming back on the show. I feel we could have talked all morning, but you got to go and get on the sim and
I do
get ready for
full
Spa.
day of simulator. Got Spa prep, Netherlands. Busy day.
Busy day. Well, look, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me on.
Lando's in a good place, isn't he? He's such an engaging character and so fast in a racing car. He really made me laugh during that chat, and I love what he says about wanting to enjoy his journey in Formula One. If he's able to do that, I have no doubt he'll get even better as a driver. Thanks again for your time, Lando. It was great to chat, and best of luck for the rest of the season. As ever, if you have any thoughts or stories you'd like to share about Lando, then please get in touch. Send them to me at Tom Clarkson F1 on Twitter, or use the hashtag F1BeyondTheGrid. I'll then read out a handful at the end of next week's show. Which brings me on to what you sent in about Beat Zender after our last episode. What an F1 legend that man is. Let's start with this from Shane Bucks. What a fascinating listen. To hear all of the names Beat has worked with is only something some could dream of. Plus, you don't hear of many who stick with one team for more than 30 years. You're absolutely right, Shane. Beat's CV is a who's who of Formula One, and he's remained loyal to Sauber despite some big money offers from rivals. He's a special man. And what about this from Doc Producer? As a Swiss, it was such a joy to listen to the whole story of the team just down the road. This was an outstanding episode, and that summer break was well earned. Well, thanks, Doc, and Beat tells a good story, doesn't he? And finally, let's hear from Matt Alford. What a great podcast. Beat explains things so simply and tells some amazing stories from the exciting period of early 90s Formula One. He's a very interesting guy. I'd heard about him over the years of following F1, and it was great to hear his story and insights. Well, thanks for the note, Matt. I've done many interviews on F1 Beyond the Grid, and this one with Beat was definitely one of my favourites. We'll leave the messages there for this week, but thanks to everyone who got in touch. I love hearing from you, and please remember to send in your thoughts and stories about Lando Norris as well. And if you fancy hearing more from Lando, have a listen to his first Beyond the Grid interview recorded back in March 2020. There's a link to that episode in the description. And while you're on your podcast app, please follow F1 Beyond the Grid, maybe leave us a rating or a review as well, and share this episode with a friend or your fellow F1 fans on social. Thanks for listening. F1 Beyond the Grid is produced by F1 and Audio Boom Studios. Until next time, keep it flat out.